And we are live with the Nerds on Earth punch list this week, Wednesday, August 19th. Clave, how are you doing today?
Man, I was so hoping you would tell us that we're live.
That's, there's different ways that you can always start a video, but we like to do it. We're live after we wait for 10 seconds to see if the live button actually kicks in or not.
I was trying to hold perfectly still. I don't know how well I did, but I don't even know why I did that because we weren't live. I could have moved.
Have you previously worked as a human statue or a street performer?
How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm ready to talk some news. Talk some news of the past week. So, for those of you joining us for the first time or longtime listeners, watchers, Nerds on Earth puts out the punch list every Wednesday, comprising the top 7 bits of nerdy news that you need to know from the past week. And then myself and Clave hop on a Facebook Live to ruckus applause, and we break down those 7 bits of news and give you a little insights from our nerdy minds straight into your ears. So, nerdy news that can encompass anything. This week we have a wide plethora of topics to cover, we're gonna hop into it, Clave. So you better strap in and buckle up.
I'm too old to hop.
Okay, well, it seems like you're probably sitting in a chair with a 3-point buckle system, so maybe just engage that. And
the least I could have done was I got home from work and I took off my collared shirt. The least I could have done was left on my collared shirt. I was just looking at myself, and what a disappointment I am, Abram.
It's a V-neck. It looks great. It's fine. All right, let's hop into it, Clave. Number 7 on the punch list this week. Again, you can go to nerdsonearth.com. It's a website. You can check out the punch list article and follow along with us at home or wherever you happen to be watching this. Number 7, Star Wars The High Republic. There's an excerpt from that. It gives the first look at new setting and direction. So the High Republic, I think we talked about it many weeks ago, possibly. But it's a series of novels, comics, and it's set many, 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 many years before the Skywalker saga. And it's aimed at all age groups, so from young adult all the way up to more mature fare. And the first title is A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland, and it's out early next year. But they did tease a little excerpt from that novel. Clave, you read it. What did you think?
I don't understand it.
Well, at least I'm not the only one. See, that's why.
So, like, new setting. I don't know. Whatever. You always hate to start out cynical because we don't do that, right?
We never.
But I feel like I'm numb to Star Wars and what's going on at this point. So High Republic would be 200 years before the Skywalkers. Am I understanding that correctly? So that would be before the Clone Wars.
Asking me about Star Wars timeline is
So the
not.
Clone Wars. Obi-Wan is a young spry man.
Sure. Yeah. So it can't be. Yeah.
And then
it's got to be before all that.
And then when Luke comes along, he is an aged man. So Clone Wars were what, 50 years before A New Hope?
Probably about that.
And so if this is 200 years, so it's about 150 years. Am I crazy?
No.
That was the way I understood it. So this would be the High Republic. That sounds fun. Doesn't it sound fun?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
the name itself, you're like, oh, it's the
High
It is the High Republic. I mean, I like Phantom. I've mentioned it before. Phantom Menace gets kind of a bad rap. People say it's silly. Let's not even watch it. But I don't know. There's something about the whole.
I say that. That's what I say.
You say that, so that's why I think everybody says that, because you are the nerd authority. But I don't know. There's something about, like, I don't know, the Senate and all that. I didn't care for the heavy doses of that as much in episode 2. But the High Republic, it's got that feel. It's like, this is the High Republic.
You know, like these time jumps wouldn't be what I would have chosen.
What would you have chosen? What would you?
So I love the Mandalorian, right? And so it's kind of this. I'm a huge fan of telling stories that are beyond the Skywalkers.
Right. Like,
kind of fringe characters out in the edges of the galaxy. So that's where I would have gone. I wouldn't have done the hey, let's go 200 years in time, 200 whatever. But it's cool. Like I'm glad that there's new Star Wars stories. So
yeah,
I
agreed.
think I got to read a couple to kind of get my. This is getting slower and turning much more slowly. I think I need to read one to kind of get my mind wrapped around it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right there with you, and I think a lot of the Star Wars novels. I mean, even I read the first Alphabet Squadron, and even just like trying to get into that, like they throw you just like in media res into the story most of the time, and
Hmm.
I mean, it takes me a while to kind of get my bearings and like understand. All right, this is what we're talking about. This is where we are, and like my Star Wars knowledge is very limited compared to like huge Star Wars fans. So like
Yeah,
for other people who are well versed in it, it may just be second nature to them. Like, oh yeah, I totally know exactly what's going on. Um, but not
totally.
not me. So yeah, it's good to have new Star Wars stuff out there, especially stuff that's aimed at everyone. So go ahead and take a look at that excerpt. The links in the punch list article. You can take a look at that excerpt, and maybe it'll strike true with you a little more than us. But cool stuff.
Yeah. Good use of in media res, by the way.
Well, thank you. I like to practice my Latin.
Totally.
Um, number,
Don't we all?
don't we all? Otherwise, it's going to be forgotten. It's going to be one of those forgotten languages if we don't.
Oh, and that would just be a shame.
Whatever we do. Number 6, Avatar: Last Airbender, which is topical, very topical these days. But the creators have exited for the live-action Netflix series that was promised to us, and so that's basically what everything I just said. That's the news. They're kind of out on the live action Netflix series, so it's going to be kind of in limbo. The project is just floating there. Someone's kind of got to pick it up now if they want to run with it. The Last Airbender, I think it must have been like a month ago now that it went on to Netflix, the animated series. So people have been really watching that, especially them who haven't maybe watched it in the past and whatever. So it's very much a zeitgeist again, and so it is kind of bad news, especially if they had kept that hype train rolling for the Avatar: Last Airbender.
Hype.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have anything much to say on that. Again, people don't like.
I was looking forward to this live action because I've never seen Airbender. I've mentioned before I don't watch a whole lot of cartoons, animated stuff.
Mhm.
I prefer live action, so I've never seen it. And folks are like, "Oh, you got to see it. You got to see it." And when someone tells me that I got to do something, then I don't do it because I'm stubborn that way. 'Cause
I'll do it
I'm at the
on my
line.
terms. I'll do what I want.
That's right. I'll do it if I want to. Don't tell me I gotta watch this. So I haven't seen Airbender, but everyone says it's just delightful and something that I would enjoy. So I was looking forward to the live action, particularly with the creators who. And so I'm like, it's bummed, but I don't have anything invested in it. So
Sure.
I'm like, that would have been nice, but it's not happening. So okay. It is interesting though. The reason for their departure is they wanted it. They wanted to keep it um, in the genre for kids.
Hmm.
They wanted to keep the tone accessible for kids. Which as a dad, I'm like that would have been awesome. And Netflix wanted them to
Yeah, Netflix wants to put
mix
their
it
their
up.
little dash of special spice on it. As
Netflix, they just want to be HBO so badly.
they do, they're really trying in every possible way. Um, yeah, so I mean, again, I haven't watched a lot of the animated series, and man, I'm gonna be like the unpopular opinion guy today because the movie that is out there, the live action, I don't think it's as bad as people say it is.
Oh,
Um,
is that right?
Yeah, but I like I glob onto like the world of things and the theme of things, and so like I can look past like the acting and whatever because I really like the Airbender world that's created. So I really hope someone picks up the project. I think it'd be really really cool, especially with the advances in technology and whatnot.
Yeah,
They could just make it look awesome.
like
So
cool.
so maybe someone will, maybe someone won't. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future punch list. You'll just have to tune in. Number 5, switching over to tabletop games. Pathfinder Paizo has announced Pathfinder Second Edition Bestiary 3, which we all knew was coming at some point. And
Yeah.
I don't know if we expected to.
Not really hot news.
Yeah, it's coming next year. So after it's been out for a year and a half to get the third bestiary, that's not bad. That's churning out monsters 300 plus in this tome, and I think the other two are about the same length, somewhere in the 300 creature range. It's got all your Pathfinder monster stuff you could ever want. Stat blocks. Yeah.
Pathfinder, Paizo, they do an excellent job on that. This is kind of old news and small news, but when you're talking about the third book, but hey, it's great, and I think a couple things for us to comment on is just the aggressive release of Pathfinder Second Edition.
Oh
man, it's been a stand-up triple, if not a home run. It has been just a great, thousands of pages of content, good content. It's all been good. So the third bestiary, so that's one thing to comment on, is just the strong release of Pathfinder Second Edition. That's been great. The other thing to comment on is they said that this will be the last bestiary. They did say there will be more monsters, obviously, but they're not going to do like Bestiary 4, 5, 6, 93.
They're going to build it.
They're going to pivot and introduce monsters in a way, and I think this is because they're leaning hard into Galarian, their setting, which is fantastic. And as much as Pathfinder forked away from D&D, which is now 15 years ago, they are showing that they are going hard into their own IP. I think in a beautiful way. I think it has. And this is my opinion. I love D&D. I've been playing D for 40 years, so this is not me hating on D&D. But Paizo, they just have a little spark of creativity. It's just maybe 10% more fun and joyful.
We call that the
I'm glad for that.
Special spice.
So more big hardcover monsters, but not in Bestiary 4.
Yeah, and we've seen that already with most of the second edition stuff. Is they're kind of geared towards, hey, this book isn't just for game masters anymore. If you were a normal player, you would never pick up any of the bestiaries. I think first edition had 6 bestiaries.
6.
And so people, now it's like, hey, if you want some more monsters, you can check out this sweet lore book that's got some other really cool stuff, but at the same time, we got monsters in there. They've been doing it with feats and with spells and items and stuff, just baking that all in, which is really cool because you get the flavor and you get the items at the same time. So,
it's good for gamers and it's good for business. It's a smart business plan, right?
Totally.
Like, don't make all your books just for dungeon masters, because that's 1/6 of the buyers. Make your books so that they can be enjoyed by all. So
exactly.
Good on Paizo.
So good on you, Paizo. Bestiary 3 coming next year, $50. Number 4, sticking with Paizo, we're getting a new 3-part adventure path for Starfinder, geared towards higher level PCs, which is pretty good in and of itself, because normally your adventure paths are going to kick off at level 1 and you get that same kind of grind every time. So it's called Devastation Arc, starting at 13th level, going all the way up to 16. There'll be 3 tomes, high level monsters and whatnot, and it is apparently somewhat kind of tied to their very first adventure path, Dead Suns. So kind of keep that in mind if you're playing through Dead Suns. It's there could be maybe some spoilers there towards the end, but what do you think, Clave?
Yeah, this is a two in a row. That's kind of small news, old news. We knew this, but I think there's a couple interesting things about it. One is, it's always a good time to talk about adventure paths. I mean, they're kind of the crown jewel of Paizo, serialized adventures, and they're so well done always. This is higher level play. Personally, I'm like,
it's hard. High level play is hard.
Universe devastation weapon, like the Death Star. Well, whatever. It's like
it's called Devastation Arc.
Right. But that gives an opportunity to talk about the Adventure Path after, which is a longer one, 6-parter from back to level 1 called Live Free or Die, and that's kind of a that's more Firefly, right? It's kind of built around the ship and a crew and live free or die, fly into galaxy. I'm like, okay, that sounds like it's got a little swashbuckling fun to it.
A
So
little
personally, as a
panache.
player, I probably lean toward that. I'm running my nephews who are downstairs now through some Starfinder, and that live free or die. They'll just
They're gonna gobble that up. It's gonna blow their minds.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's cool. There's tons of. I don't even know. We just put out an article, but I don't know the count of how many Starfinder APs there are right now. But there's a
I should
little.
know. I wrote that article, I think, right?
I know. I want to say there's like 8, and I don't know if I'm.
I don't even have a clue.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm undercutting
Interesting.
or overselling. Um, but yeah, there's something for everybody in those adventure paths. So, hey, one more thing for the library. So,
Yeah.
super good, super good. All right, number 3. I feel like Clay may have some thoughts on this one. Maybe not.
Never.
Number 3, Epic Games is engaged in a massive legal battle with two corporate Goliaths, Apple and Google. So I think it was Thursday probably that this news kind of broke. So Epic Games, creator of Fortnite, which is the world that we live in now, and so they kind of are considered to have done a breach of contract because they added this whole new thing where you can buy their in-game currency, but you get a little discount or bonus if you pay through their payment portal as opposed to paying through the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And so they did that. Apple's like, that goes against terms of service, and so they pulled the plug from of the app from their store as they're undergoing this. So this is actually, it's an ever evolving story, but it will probably be a pretty landmark case, so to speak, as far as how much freedom that developers can have on these platforms that they're putting their content. How much control does Apple and Google have over what you can do with your product that you're selling on their platform?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this.
All right, I knew he did. I knew he
First
did.
piece of advice. When talking about Apple, look toward analysts that are going to be a little more thoughtful. So, piece of advice: go to daringfireball.net. That's probably your best source for following Apple news. Don't go to like the Forbes network where it's just a monkey show and they're just tossing out clickbaity articles that don't have depth or thoughtfulness to it. So that would be my first piece of advice. So here's what's happening. So Epic, Fortnite, Apple and Google. Obviously, Apple's the headline name here when it talks about the App Store. They take a 30% cut. So you put your app on the App Store, you take a 30% cut. They have the rules to get in that App Store. You have the rules. They say they want their rules to be walled off because they want it to be secure, safe, keep people's data safe, privacy. So if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're like, well, Apple's lying to us, fine. But that's Apple's thing. They want if you download an app from the App Store, they want it to follow their rules.
Mm-hmm.
So Epic did not follow the rules, and they circumvented the rules. And here's what's interesting: they circumvented the rules, knowing that they would get kicked out of the store.
Yes, totally.
Knowing full well, because as soon as they got kicked out, it's very interesting. They had a PR campaign already lined up with a parody ad to parody Apple's 1984 ad. They had press releases. They had a public relations campaign ready to go simultaneous with their lawsuit, because not only do you have try your cases in court but they want to try their case in the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So they want all the gamers to rally around. Fortnite, they're the heroes. They're taking on Apple and Google. They're taking on the billionaires. Well, listen, Fortnite are billionaires, so let's not pretend that they're this little guy.
Right.
The reason they're circumventing Apple's rules is for their financial gain.
Oh yeah.
So they want to make more money, and they think that if they can go past Apple, they'll make more money. And they're going to they know that they broke the rules so that they can't win that case in court, but they can win it in the court of public opinion. So that's what's going on now is like, hey, we're the little guys. We're taking on Apple and Google.
But they're not the little guys is the point.
It's for their financial gain.
I mean, you think about it.
They don't want to give Apple a cut of all their in-app purchases that they work so hard to, to trick nerds into.
Right.
You gotta have the latest skin, right?
And that's the thing too.
Yeah, pretending like anyone's Robin Hood here is kind of ridiculous. So you got to decide. Whatever. I mean, will Apple cave?
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
please.
I'm not anticipating.
They got a billion devices, and they'll do just fine without Fortnite. I think the question is, will Fortnite do fine without being on mobile platform Google and Apple? And is Fortnite large enough that they can essentially feel like in the court of public opinion, because of bad PR, force Apple to give them a little extra money?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Whatever.
Yeah, it's you put it in a very educated light with no biases. So that's basically what it is, though. I mean, 30% when your app is free and literally all your revenue is coming from those in-app purchases is like, and I mean, hand over fist, gobs of cash. They're just wheelbarrow. They can't even buy enough wheelbarrows to keep that money. So that 30%, that's what's driving their whole thing, anyways. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
All right, number 2. This is actually kind of well laid out as far as transitioning to other things. Another video game news here. Ghost of Tsushima is receiving a free co-op multiplayer mode called Legends, and it's going to be a free download expansion to your base game and will allow people, so originally this was just a single player game. This will allow you to play up to 2 to 4 people and take on the different roles to do co-op story missions, wave-based survival missions, and raids. So, I mean, anytime you get a video game that, it's just like, I mean, it's a pretty massive content when you have a single player game and then you add a whole multiplayer component that maybe wasn't even a part of. I mean, it had to have been some kind of part of the thing. But we live in a world where online gaming, people want to play with their friends. So, and at the same time, solo games do really, really well. You look at like Breath of the Wild and Spider-Man on PS4, and all these games. Like, people love solo games. They love playing with friends. People just love games in general. So when you add a whole facet of that, I mean, that's going to bring a lot of people in. One of the reasons, I haven't played it yet is like, well, I don't want to just play it by myself, really. Is that enough to push me over the edge? I don't know. Depends if my friends got put over the edge. Same thing.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the game, but I'm like, well, that's an interesting thing that they did.
Yeah,
or are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's probably enough on that. It's a free thing. It's coming. I actually don't know when the date is, but sometime in the future, I assume. So check out the article.
It's not vaporware.
It's rare. All right, number 1, also gaming, because us nerds love to game. Endangered. It's board gaming. Endangered New Species is an expansion that has hit Kickstarter. Endangered is a game I still have yet to play, but it's made 2, maybe 3 of my most anticipated board game article lists. It made it last year post Gen Con, I think, and then my beginning of the year one. So it's a game, looks great. It's all about endangered species. So this is a whole new expansion that gives you 7 other endangered animals with the potential for more because it's Kickstarter. So it's always about more. And some different sort of gameplay mechanical things as well. So that's live on Kickstarter right now.
Right now. That's timely.
Very timely.
Yeah, I haven't played the game either, and feel like we need to get bigger news than board game expansions. Like, I don't know what to say about a board game expansion,
especially when we haven't played it.
Right. Well, they say that board game expansions get about 1 out of 10, right? Mm-hmm. So 1 out of 10 owners of the game, you're lucky to get that 10% to buy the expansion. The reason they do it is to keep the IP alive and kind of keep the game on people's mind, and it works, right? Because here we are talking about it. So, yep. Endangered, it's a board game. It was anticipated and popular. I'm not sure. I haven't played it, and it's been tough. The board game industry's been tough, not having Gen Con, not having the conventions.
It's hard to get those new games in person.
Who are trying to get their games out in front of people, and it's been quiet. It's been slow. As all of us nerds are just at home, just as our entire country is in low-grade depression.
Way to kick us off with a bang.
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah. No, you're right. And
just pour one out for 2020.
Yeah. It's only 4 months left. They said 2020 couldn't be worse than 2019. Well, you can only do that so many years in a row. It doesn't work that way.
Well, on brighter news, what board games are you playing? Because I will gladly talk about Marvel Champions.
Oh, I know you're going to talk about Marvel Champions. I shared this with you, Clay. I got it right here. Got this in the mail.
Ooh.
Fort.
Now that's an anticipated board game from the makers of Root, which was an award-winning Game of the Year board game, which you love, an asymmetrical fighting game with little critters, and so Fort is an asymmetrical game as well.
It's a reskin. I can never remember the name of the game that it re-implements. It's like 4 letters. It's like some acronym. Okay. Some game with a Roman theme that didn't really do that great, probably because the theme was kind of boring or something.
Yep.
So they re-implement it with Fort about kids gathering toys, getting pizza, playing with your friends, and building a fort. So it's a card-based game. It looks awesome. There's so many great. Kyle Farron, who did the art for Root, did this art as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic artists. But my favorite part is so each of the cards is a kid. It's a friend, and so they all have like a name like Worm or the Ant. And just like very fun like kid nicknames, and then the art reflects that. So I went through and
Is one of them named Clay by any chance?
It's not, unfortunately. Maybe a Fort expansion. They'll make Clay. We can put in a good word.
Thanks for bringing back to board game expansions. About 10% of players get those, Abram.
Yeah, well, we'll have to because it's literally got your name on it. So yeah, no, it's I haven't played it yet. It'll be a lot of fun, I'm sure. But what I did is I was like, which of these cards, who in my family, which card represents them? So I laid them all out and I set it out in a group chat to my family. I was like, guess who's who, and just they had a blast. So anytime you can do that with a game where it's just fun. I haven't played the game yet. I'm having a blast with it.
Just having fun with cards.
Yeah,
even before you.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
So. All right, well, that's 7 things on the punch list. Let's run it through from the top one more time. We got number 7, Star Wars New Republic has an excerpt.
More Star Wars.
More Star Wars. So take a look at that. Go read through it. Number 6, Avatar Last Airbender creators have exited the live-action Netflix series. Number 5, Bestiary. The Pathfinder 2e Bestiary 3 has been announced, coming next year. Number 4, the Starfinder 3-part AP Devastation Arc is coming for high-level play. Number 3, Epic Games is engaged in legal battles with Apple and Google over their wallets. Number 2, Ghost of Tsushima is receiving free co-op multiplayer mode at some point in the future. Legends. And number 1, Endangered New Species expansion is live on Kickstarter for board game expansions. And that's the punch list.
There you have it. There's the punch list. Until next Wednesday.
Until next Wednesday, join us here. Go over to nerdsonearth.com. You can check out the punch list on all of our other great articles. We release one every day. And there's bound to be something for you to enjoy over there.
Oh, for sure.
So,
for sure. Or you're not even trying.
Yeah. You got to put in the effort and just go to the website. Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Clave. It's a pleasure.
Look around. Yeah. Read more than the headlines.
Yeah. Get into the nitty-gritty. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Clave. Nerds, thanks for joining us. Until next time.
Later, nerds.